I've been having some problems with blood in my mouth. Um, but yeah, no, I'm feeling good.
It's been a week.
Sean
My
was
bo-
very concerned about the clotting last week, and I thought
My-
that was weird, but now I'm getting concerned about
Yeah.
the clotting situation.
Well, there's no clotting, and that's the problem. There's
My
no
body-
clotting.
My body's rejecting the face-off, and so I'm gonna have to get a refund on my $5,000 divorce check.
Divorce check. I've never heard of the divorce. What?
My kids are taking. Sorry, my wife.
Ex-wife.
Her and Gary are taking the kids, the house, my hats, and all I have to do with this $5,000 divorce check is to, I guess, return this goddamn face that I bought. I need that check. This is hashtag Justin Trudeau, hashtag Canada, hashtag where are all the faces gone, hashtag face off 2021, hashtag I need my $5,000 check now.
How do you even return a face?
Guess you're gonna find out.
The following may contain harsh language, poorly communicated ideas, and does not reflect the opinions of iHeartRadio.
Gentlemen, this week let's look at the post-surgery sequence up until and including the prison escape, one of the greatest action sequences filmed by humans since Dune, 1984.
I thought you were gonna say since the opening action sequence in Face Off, it was the greatest action sequence ever filmed.
Do you want to lead us through this, Chris, or should we get Tyler to again? Because you seem to still be dealing with some rather steep medical issues that might pull you away from time to time.
Despite the serious medical complications in my life, it seems that it's still necessary to carry this goddamn podcast by myself. And so what I am going to do, gentlemen, is break the ice and just talk about the post-surgery. And what, gentlemen, let me just put the ball into your court and ask you this. You are Sean Archer. You've now gotten the appearance of international playboy and terrorist Castor Troy. What would you do if the ball was in your court, as it is now? As I will remind you again, what would you do? What would be the first things that you do now that you are a separate person? You are Face Off, 1997.
Well, I would probably stare at myself in the mirror and then have a huge freak out scene, which is exactly what Nicolas Cage does. He's been so over the top in all of Act 1, you think you're going to see like subdued. Now he's being Sean Archer. Instead, he goes like more Nicolas Cage than we've seen yet in the film. And it turns out from the commentary, it's because John Woo basically just said, Nick, do whatever you feel is best in this scene.
Those are his favorite words in the English language, I think. Those.
Yeah. Just follow your heart. And so that's the answer. If you ever wonder where Nick Cage thinks the scene should go.
You know what? I have to be honest with myself too, Tyler, and kind of assume that if I just had a perfect face-off surgery, I'd probably want to celebrate by looking in the mirror and screaming.
Is this a true story of what happened after your recent face-off surgery?
Honestly, I really don't even want to talk about it.
Another thing I loved about post-surgery from the commentaries when, you know, that little scene where they're trying to match the voice, Nicolas Cage, I guess it's Sean Archer's new voice to sound like Castor Troy.
Right.
The writers said they put in a microchip is what causes the voice to change. Science, baby. Let's move on to Joan Allen a little bit. She wanted to work in a big action film. So right before this film in 95, she made Nixon. 96, she made The Crucible, Oscar nominated both. So she was on back-to-back Oscar nominations. And
a bit of a hot streak right there.
And nothing seals the deal on the hot streak better than taking the role of a wife who looks like a grandmother in Face Off 1997.
I really wish they had explained that.
I
mean, somebody made that decision, and somehow Joan Allen was like, okay.
That's exactly what she says when Travolta brings a random kid home too. Okay.
What happened is Joan Allen probably was at like some type of dinner for the cast and crew, and she saw John Woo constantly talking to Nicolas Cage and John Travolta the entire time, and no one talking to her, and realized to herself that I'm just gonna have to just be here for this movie, aren't I? And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, just show up.
And the rest is history. I assume it's just one of those things where she was saying to herself, well, I can only assume that everyone else knows what's going on.
Yeah, just hope for the best, yeah.
The problem is when everyone in the set thinks that, then you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's probably how a lot of the world's worst things happen, is when people just assume that the other person knows what's going on.
Yeah. Speaking of that little twist, Warner Brothers originally had optioned this script, and they wanted the scene taken out where Castor Troy as Sean Archer sleeps with Joan Allen. When the writers refused to take it out.
Come on! Oh, yeah!
That's literally what the writers said, and when they refused to take it out, Warner Bros. Dropped it. So this is maybe one of the saddest things I've ever heard. One of the writer's friends proposed to his wife by recreating the entire dinner sequence from the Face Off dinner date that Travolta does for Joan Allen.
Saddest? Like, oh man, Tyler, that's
like including it's the dinner menu and everything, all the candles. Like, who?
Maybe she really liked the movie.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they're divorced. I don't know them, but I'm just gonna guess.
Well, it's a Hollywood relationship, so.
I wonder if he got his $5,000 check.
So you know that scene where it's Castor Troy with once he's got the Sean Archer face on, and he's going to talk to his brother Pollux in interrogation. He's like, "You got to make me look good. I'm going to become the best cop in America." And he mentioned something about having this ridiculous chin, and like he points at his Travolta face.
The dimple.
Yeah, the dimple. So before they shot that scene, Travolta called the writers to his trailer. He's like, "Are you guys making fun of me? Like, are you making fun of the way I look in this scene?"
What the fuck does this mean?
Yeah. And he was kind of upset, and the writers.
Who the fuck wrote this?
I mean, he was hailed for his looks, like from an early age, right?
Well, then he starts thinking, like, oh, that's probably why they hired me for Guess Who's Talking.
Probably, yeah. But this is also like this is like this weird part in his career where he's just like getting this career renaissance going again. So he thinks he's a sex symbol, but at the same time, his body's going. Like, I mean, you just can't help it. I mean, he's an older man now at this point.
What the fuck are you talking about?
His body's just expanding. Like, when you get to be an older guy, your body, like, your bones expand a bit more. They drop down. He gets saggy, and he gets, like, the man gut, and, like, you know.
Not if you're Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's true. Some people don't quite get it, but Tom Cruise is like 4'8", and then when he hit 50, he grew up to like 5 foot. Like he expanded into like 5 feet.
Basically, the writers just appeased Travolta by saying, "Oh no, Castor Troy just has such a big ego that he would hate looking like anybody else." And then Travolta was like, "Oh, okay, that's that." And he was all good and went into the scene.
The writers left his trailer like laughing behind their back at him. Like,
I can't believe that worked.
Yeah. Like, did you see how much bigger his dimples gotten in just the past hour? Like, it's expanding.
Should we get into some of the prison stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1984 prison. I love it.
Yeah. So those shoes, you guys want to know how they made those shoes look like they weighed 25 pounds?
Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
They were very cheap because they bought them off of the surplus at the Super Mario Brothers movie set.
Yes. So I've heard that rumor. They didn't come up in the commentary at all. So
I just
literally just made that up. Literally just made that up.
No, we mentioned that earlier in this podcast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they came from Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, Sean, I was way too drunk to remember that.
We were joking about it. Like, it looks like it's from Super Mario Brothers, and it probably was.
I think they were old Goomba shoes. They made those shoes look really heavy and like hard to wear because they were actually 25 pounds. They were really heavy and hard to wear. A lot of the extras in those prison scenes were also ex-convicts, like actual legit post-criminals, which it's not like that rare to hire like people who are actually whatever to be background actors. I just would love to see the casting call go out like, "Hey, have you been to prison? Call whatever Paramount or whoever the studio was at the time."
And Nick Cage had fun those days.
Oh,
He's probably just enjoyed himself asking people questions all the time. What's the craziest
I think the only question he asked was, "Anybody got a light?"
That's why you said it in that scene, because there's no context at all in that movie for that moment.
I'm sorry.
So he was just saying it to the people that he's been extras all days with. Anyone got a light?
Yeah.
It all makes sense now.
That's probably the line where it's like, let's have them react very positively to this because otherwise it looks really stupid.
I feel like that was the introduction before like 95% of the scenes they shot.
Yeah, we need other people.
We need to really sell this.
Yeah. Maybe hot take. My favorite scene in this movie is the confrontation when you like the reveal of that Castor Troy now has Sean Archer's face as well. That reveal in the prison. And that scene right there is apparently what sold the screenplay. Like the writers seem to say that up until that point, everybody who read the script thought it was just going to be a movie about a guy like trapped in prison, like mistaken identity movie. Right. The whole film is him trying to escape from this like weird future prison. And then when they see that it's actually about like the villain becoming the hero, it's a face-off. Like producers lost their mind and their phones started bringing off the hook. It's the way the writers seem to explain it.
You think that there was like when they were explaining it to the financiers that just like in order to drive the concept home that they had like two mannequins and then they do that. It's like, and now that guy's the bad guy and that guy's the good guy.
And then in between they had Nick Cassavetes come in and say face off. Yeah. John Woo also said this was the best action script he's ever read. Did you say action script? Yeah, best action script he's ever read.
Well,
it's pretty crazy coming from the guy who made The Killer and Hard Boiled and like all those awesome Hong Kong action films he made.
All right, my last point that I gleaned from the commentary, just a funny story, is the scene when Nick Cage is when he's getting hooked up to that like electrocution chair, whatever it is, and he burns it
right before his big escape.
Right before his big escape. So John Woo comes to him. It was Nick Cage's birthday on the day. And John Woo comes to him and was like, so you need to play this, like, you know, you think you might die, but you got to make your big play to escape. Like, this is a very emotional scene. Like, be ready. So Nick Cage is like, he's in the zone.
He's like, I'm ready.
Yeah, he's all good to go. And then John Woo goes behind the camera and yells action, and the whole crew comes out and sings happy birthday to Nicolas Cage instead of like shooting, and brings him a cake. And Nick Cage is like, okay, thank you. And then he goes to John Woo's like, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again.
What?
What? He really did that? That's hilarious.
He's like, it was a nice sentiment, but don't ever do it.
Oh, Nicolas Cage said that to John Woo.
To John Woo, yeah. Like, don't fuck with my process.
That's what Oscar does to you. Like, I bet you he's never done that before in a movie before that or something. Yeah. Like, and then he's like, you know what? Fuck this shit. No.
I wonder if he had the same conversation on Bangkok Dangerous. I wonder if he got his $5,000 check.
You're bleeding a little bit, like in the eye.
You should really wrap this up because I think you should go to a hospital.
Oh, you're talking about in the medical sense wrapping this up.
Well, no, I wasn't actually, but now that you mention it, yes.
Right. Well, thank you, friends, for listening to another week of the Take Two Plus podcast. Our special presentation on the Face Off 1997 masterpiece. This week was week 7. Join us week 8 next week when we will continue from the prison sequence until about a half an hour after the fact. So we are excited to be talking about that. And not only that, please stay tuned to my developing saga on Face Off, the Chris McIntosh.